had several people reaching out to me after I posted about creating your own org and how helpful that I thought that was before passing the exam. And it just kind of got to the point where it's like, am I going to repeat myself over and over and over again, or could we do something to try to get everybody together? So I said to Anita, like, I'm thankful that she set this up, because otherwise it'd have been like complete rookie hour if I was just trying to set up a Zoom with everybody. So welcome. So yeah, we have a couple of things ready to show you. For me, I remember hearing like early on in my studying about creating your own org. And I also remember I probably bits and pieces of everything, like everything I heard was bits and pieces of things from the podcasts. But one of the things that was said too was to anything that you can put into a spreadsheet, you can put into an org. And then I remember reading at some point about the difference between the rows and the columns and how it all fit together. And I used spreadsheets. I was kind of like the spreadsheet guru on my team at work, and I use them in my personal life. So I will share with you a little sampling. I changed the data and made it, fake, but this is basically what struck a chord in my mind when I heard that about the spreadsheets, because this to me was my most useful spreadsheet. So let me go there. So I had, can everyone see this? Yeah. Are we good? Okay. So up here in the top left corner, there's a little piece of it, same thing as what's right here, but this was like a spreadsheet I was maintaining for my household. And we decided, and I don't know how many of you found Talent Stacker and found Salesforce through the Choose F5 podcast, but that's how I got through. And we were trying to do an avalanche pay down of our debt. And I get motivated by the numbers, and I need to see some kind of immediate reaction. Like I need some kind of immediate positive reinforcement, or I will quit things. So when I set up this massive spreadsheet, what I had was what you can see here, like the interest rates, the date that I would update the spreadsheet, what the current balance was, what I was paying on it. And if you're not aware of what like the snowball or avalanche method is, it's that when you stop paying on one loan, you carry that amount over to the next one. So if we were starting here with a credit card with a super high interest rate, $100 payment, when that's paid off, then it gets added to the $275 for the personal loan. And then when that's paid off, that $375 gets added to the car loan. And you just keep building up like that over and over again. And so this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see then when I could pay everything off. So I would have to do a lot, and I still have to do like a lot of behind the scenes calculations. There's a debt reduction calculator here that I would use. And I at least got it down to a point where, I can minimize my clicks. It's a dream of mine to like automate all of this. Like it was a summer project, but then I got hired. So that fell off. But I want to at some point figure out how to completely automate this in Salesforce so that when I change the balance of the first loan, I want it to just trickle down to the whole thing. I think that's going to involve a lot of fields, but it'll be, I don't know, fun later on. So with this being my spreadsheet, the object here was the account, and the rows, those are my records. So each account, each one of these is a different account record. The columns, those would be the fields that I would input into that object. So just a little graph down here. So the account name, and then interest rate, data balance, current payment, all of these things up here became fields that I would have to input. And what I also had here that I will show you is I created these different record types. So because I want to carry this on to other things later on, but my debt record type, these would be the different pick lists I had for that. Let me see if I could actually create. This is my dashboard. I'll just go this way. This was what I meant to do anyway. So this was my dashboard. So when I put this information into Salesforce, that's one thing, right? So I had my information in a place. I do want to show you a record. Let me go to accounts and make a new one. So if I were to create a new account and I choose debt, then this is where I put I just kept building this. And this is what I love about this whole program and this whole process is you're not going to get anything right the first time. You start something, you try it out, you see what's missing, you go back in and you edit it again, and you keep on going, until it becomes what it is that you want from it. So if I, let's say I took on, I don't know, let's say I decided to put in a mortgage, and this is not necessary, but it just made me feel like it was fancier, like it felt like more real. This is something that's automatically calculated. I'll show you that later. I got fancy, but I got fancy over time. So the whole point of this was to give me some immersion in Salesforce, to give me a way to already understand, like I already thoroughly understand my material. So now I could try to build it in Salesforce and not be distracted by, like projects are great. Like the trailhead's great. There's so many challenges there that we get, but we're not completely in touch with those. So if you can build an org out of something you're already familiar with, then the details of that don't distract you. So then you can figure out, how do you want to manipulate this stuff? How do you want it to look in the system? So I just started building it out. And a lot of these numbers became things that got calculated later. So I'll show you how that ended up coming about. But I wanted a dashboard and I wanted to visualize how this debt was going down. And so this is how I built it, right? I had to build each report individually in order to put it on the dashboard. So here's I have these in order from priority left to right. So this is that first one. I gave myself just some ways to measure what percentage of it is paid off. So the closer it gets to 100, then it's going to get green. How many months left, the percentage that's paid off. A lot of this is redundant, but I didn't care because it's to jump out at you. It's to look pretty. And then I was able to take snapshots of this and put this on LinkedIn and put this on Facebook. And, it grabbed some attention. I think when I did a screenshot of this dashboard, that might be one of the most looked at posts that I had on LinkedIn. And that's one of the times when I saw a real kick up in participation and engagement on my LinkedIn. So what better way to really dig in and get comfortable with the organization than to pick something that you're already tracking, or you should be tracking, or you wish you were tracking, something that you want to keep an eye on. It could be money related. It could be, I don't know, if anybody's tracking fertility and you wanted to make an app for that. Diet, calories, fitness, how's your weightlifting going? Pick it, whatever you want, you can make it. And then people were asking about Lucid. And I know that this is going to be a very cursory way of looking at it. Anita has a better thing coming up, but I will show you kind of a little map out of how I use Lucid. So again, you're not certified in Lucid. This isn't for a job. No one's asking you to know exactly what it is that you're doing. You're just trying to get comfortable with the software and trying to get yourself some experience and play around with it a little bit. So this is just a little process map of how I was calculating those columns over on the right side of my spreadsheet. So how the expected payoff dates were calculated. So I would input my personal loan balance, interest rate, current payment, and then I would use that amortization calculator to figure out when I would pay that off. So what I have here is current loan info. This is the information that's being inputted. This is where it's being inputted to. This is a process that happens. And an output that I get from that then is the balance at the previous payoff date. And then from there, I would go back into the debt reduction calculator with that information, that balance, and the old information. So like I'd go in, go back. Sorry, I'm still clumsy with the presentation and stuff. So when I would figure out, like, say, personal loan, I'd put in all this information. I would find out that my the expected payoff date of the previous loan was September 4th, 2023. So what I would do is I would rerun the information for my personal loan, go find September 2023, figure out what that balance would be with all things, normal, and then take that information, put it back into the calculator with the new payment and figure out how many months till I would completely pay it off. Now, this was dedication. This is totally math geek nerd stuff. My wife would say to me, like, I'd try to like get excited and talk about this, and she's like, I'm happy that you're happy, but don't talk math to me. So it doesn't have to be that intensive if math's not your thing. But input these things, debt reduction calculator, my output is the new expected payoff date, and then I would just repeat the process for the next loan down. So I know Anita's going to go over more of a Lucid build with you, so you can see kind of how that works. But this is just an illustration. It's just meant to be able to show you what's possible for your situation. So what I'm hoping for you is that you take what you see here today and you're thinking right now, like hopefully there's something happening in your brain right now where you're like, oh, okay, well, I could keep track of how my expenses for my pets, or it's going to be winter, what's my electric usage or my utilities bill going to be like, and how am I going to track that kind of thing, whatever you want. But I'm hoping that right now you're generating some ideas in your mind about what is personal to you that you think would be useful, and that you're trying to figure out, like, the wheels are spinning. That's my hope for you. So I'm going to stop sharing here and pass it back over to Anita for her little exercise in Lucid. But does anyone have any questions before I hand it off?
Has anyone built any cool apps they want to share? Or you can type it in the chat.
That would be awesome.
And I feel like every couple, there's one that loves spreadsheets and finances, and the other one just, nope, does not care.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't she'd like let me talk about it because she saw me getting excited. But I'm like, don't you understand? This means like we'll have more money, and just like whatever you want. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Karen, was that you?
Yep, I'm just unmuting again. I just was wondering if there was an easy way to get the data that's already in there out. I mean, I tried to do mass delete or whatever, but there's test data in there already.
Oh, when you build an org, when you create an account.
If you wanted to use, the objects that are already in there.
So I know there's a way to reset it in an actual production org. I don't know if they have that option in a dev org. It's a good question. Let me Google that real quick.
Yeah. Because I know Alex did it in the build along, but she didn't do it on the video. She did it like on her own. And so I was like, okay. I mean, I fumbled my way through it, but I just was wondering if there was an easier way.
Yeah, well, mass delete records in setup.
But it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. That is what I tried though. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
But that's something that I don't mind playing with and posting. Like if I find that out, like I can post a screen recording of the steps to do it and get back.
Okay. Or delete all data and set up. I'm not sure if that is an option in the dev org though.
Let me see.
Here is the link I just found in help.
Anita.
Yes.
Hi, it's Erica.
Hey.
If I understand Karen's question correctly, Karen, are you looking to remove all the records from, let's say, a standard object, and then you have external information that you want to bring into that same object? Okay, so I've done it before. It's been a while, but yeah, you really have to. So you have to have like the information that you want, obviously, to bring in, but you need to delete all that information. And then I believe you're creating an external ID for each one of those objects. And then you're using a data loader to upsert into the org again. So you've got to delete all let's say there's like 3 objects that you wanted to use. You've got to delete all that information first, create an external ID for each one in order to map it when you bring it in through data loader. I believe it's been a while, but I believe that's how it's done.
Cool. And we can follow up after too, just to double check.
I'm going to take that link that you sent, Anita, and I'm going to try one of my dev orgs that's running, that's going to expire anyway, and see if I can do that, if I can replicate that while you're doing your thing.
Yeah, but thank you, Erica. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. I've only imported data, but I've never had to delete it. But yeah, that could be annoying with all the fake companies and stuff they put in there. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Lucid, and you can use it a variety of ways. I mostly use it to show business processes, and let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to share this first. So this is the Lucid website. Everyone can create an account absolutely free. You can just go to lucid.co, click try now. They do have a couple of different products. So Lucid Spark, if you're familiar with Miro, this is their copycat of that. It's basically a virtual whiteboard, really great for brainstorming, probably really great for retrospectives or any type of team collaboration, stuff like that. Lucid Chart is the main one everyone is talking about when they say Lucid. This is where you're building all those process maps. Lucid Scale, this I'm not familiar with. It looks like cloud visualization. So this is probably for really large companies that would actually use this. I haven't used this yet. Anyway, so you can go down here, click try now. Start with the free one, which includes 3 Lucid charts you can make. I think after you max out the 3, you might be able to delete one and keep creating new ones and just delete ones you don't need if you don't ever want to pay for it, or if your company won't pay for it, then that's how you get away with using a free account, because you can always download them and save old ones, but then you can't go back and edit them once you delete those. So start free, and then you just fill out the information. It's pretty seamless. I'm going to share the screen with my actual account. All right. So here is what it looks like. New, this is where you can go create new ones. All your recent ones will be here. And I have a few open up, but I just wanted to show this really quick before I show mine. So the Architect Salesforce site has a lot of really cool things. And in Lucid, you can even download the Salesforce icons. So this particular site shows this is what an architect would build to show what different integrations are. It's just like a bird level view. I haven't done this one, but this is a really cool and impressive thing to make if you want to make one for your company. I can go into one. Here's a fun one I've made. So they can be really simple, really complex. There are some basic rules with creating a process map, but basically you just want it to make it easy for the other person to read. Like if you can get your point across, then that's good. But some of the basic things you want to have is a title, and you want to have it kind of descriptive. So this is booking a couple's holiday. And then this as is, it could be as is or current state, how the current process is. If it were to be like something you're trying to change to, it would be future state. So usually start with an as is or current state process map. And if you want to streamline it a bit, you would create a future state one and make sure you label it. So I'm going to walk you through this process. These things here are swim lanes. So one swim lane is me. One swim lane is my boyfriend, Nick. And this is our process for booking a vacation. So you always want to have a start and make it obvious. I personally like it saying start. Sometimes people will have the first item in the start box, but you want to make it obvious. So start, And then we go down to the first word should be some sort of action. So start receive email from Scott's Cheap Flights. And then I have a diamond, which is a decision one. I try to keep mine as simple as possible. You see, most of my process charts will only have maybe 3 shapes. They do have a ton here, but it gets too complex, especially when you're trying to present it to people who aren't familiar with what those objects mean. So the simpler, the better. So decision one, there'll always be 2 arrows coming out of the decision, usually a yes or a no or some other option. There might be actually take the back. There might be more than 2 options if there's multiple, but for the yes and no ones, just 2. So we go here and you follow the path. Okay, can Americans travel there? This was like in the height of COVID. So the answer is no, delete the email, and then the arrow going out just points to the end. So if you follow this path, can Americans travel there? Yes. Does the destination have waterfalls? It's one of the things that I have to have where I travel to. If it's no, again, delete email and it goes to end. If it's yes, do I still have any PTO? No, obviously delete the email. Yes. Any conflicts with dates? If it's yes, then I just will delete the email. If it's no, then I will ask my boyfriend at this point, he'll take over. Do you want to go? No, delete email and go back down to the bottom to end. If it's a yes, it goes back to me. I'm the one that purchased the flights. He's the one that plans the activities. And he usually wants to rent a car most of the time. If we're not renting a car, like if we're going to Japan, I'll research like how to ride the train system and all that. If we do, he'll go ahead and reserve a rental car. I handle hotels. So I reserve hotels, and then I will look up if there's any Michelin star rated restaurants because I'm a foodie. If so, I'll make reservations. If not, then just move down to the next one. Part of my process is I follow the destination Instagram pages to get ideas of places to go. Although since Fujigate, I'm no longer allowed to plan the activities. That's another story. And then again, during COVID, so do we need a COVID test? Yes. Book COVID test? No. Do you need one to come back? We don't need those anymore. And then is the work approved time off? No. If they don't approve my time off, then I quit my job. If yes, then the end, I book the trip. So one thing that you do need to remember for these rectangle boxes, there only should be one arrow going into it and one arrow coming out. So it's like really easy to know what the next step is. And this can be done in all sorts of places. Let's see, I created one for Calendly to set that up. If you're not familiar with Calendly, it's a really cool tool you can use to, it syncs up all your calendars. So you just send people a link if they want to set up a call with you. And it's helpful if you have like a bunch of personal calendars and work calendars and you don't want any conflicts. It's makes it really easy and professional. This one's a little better. I actually have a legend. So all of them, you should create a legend just so anyone can read it if they aren't familiar. If they've never seen a process map, they should be able to like, okay, this means start, this means end, this is a process, this is a decision, and this is a predefined process. And then one I made that's a little more complex. This was actually one I used at work, but I took out all the company information. So this is the life cycle of a story, meaning a JIRA story, which you want to find out more about that. Definitely check out the other workshop that Chris is going to be hosting. But these items, again, I have all these swim lanes for every single person on my team. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a little complex, but it just shows like who does what at what time and how we're passing the story, the development, the testing, all that stuff into the different test environments. This particular client, they have three sandboxes that have to go through testing before it gets released to prod. So this one's a little complex. But yeah, this is pretty much follows the whole process of a Jira story through a 2-week sprint. All right, and let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, good. So I'm gonna go ahead and run through creating one. Does anyone have any requests for a simple process I could make right now? If not, I'm probably gonna make one on how to create I don't know, a Lucid account.
I feel like you're doing like a magic show or something. Like she's gonna pull it off. She's gonna pull it out of her hat if you give her a topic.
Yeah. Also, there are templates because the blank screen is kind of a lot. There's templates. See, like org charts. This is something I recommend everyone do when they're starting a job. So you kind of put something together so you know who to go to for questions, who's boss, who to escalate things to, and just people on your team. There are a ton of templates. So if you're not sure, you don't want to make one from scratch, just open up a template and start adjusting it to what you need there. But if you do want to start from scratch, we can go ahead. So first things first, I'm going to want to add a title. So any suggestions can be anything. Making a pizza, signing up for a talent stacker, going for a bike ride, fitness. Okay. Something I am not familiar with. How to make a turkey sandwich. All right. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Turkey sandwich process. Current state. And I'm gonna title here so it just doesn't say blank document. In addition, I want to create, let's see, is this it? I want to create a legend. So I'll always start with this here. And as I'm building everything, I know I'm gonna need a terminator, which is start and end. So start, and I want to make this really obvious. So start screen, copy this over. Nope, that did not work. I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to make that red. And then process one is something I always use. So let me make this a little bigger. Nope. And I'll leave space because I might use the decision one. All right. And you have choices here. So it just depends on what you prefer. If you want horizontal or vertical. I personally like this style because it's kind of like a sheet of paper to me, and I can just go down instead of going left and right. This particular process, I don't think you would need a swim lane, since unless you're making the sandwich with someone else, you would use it. So I am just gonna get rid of this, and we can put sandwich artist. and then make this wide. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Oh, there is a key to the left if you hover over the shape. Yes. Thank you. All right, so it's really nice here, a little intuitive. It saves everything you create. So I'm gonna move this here. Start. All right, who wants to chime in? What's the first step in making a sandwich?
You got to ask if you're hungry or not.
Oh, pro, we're gonna have to start with a decision, throwing me off. Okay. All right, let's get the decision one. Let's first put this in the legend. Okay, and then you can drop it off. Okay, so are you hungry? Hungry.
You could put hangry too.
Hangry. Are you hangry? All right, so are you hangry? This is going to force us to do an end one, because if no, obviously you're not going to make a sandwich. So end. I'm trying to remember. Is it yes? Oh, yes is the first one. Okay, let me do this. So I'm going to have the yes follow here. So are you hungry? Yes. If you're not hungry, gonna scroll. Wow, I moved it all the way to the bottom. Pretty much done, right? You're not gonna make a sandwich. So are you hangry? Yes. What's the next step?
What type of bread would you like?
Yep. So are you hangry? So we need bread. We need the ingredients, right?
Right.
So take out ingredients. All right. Next one. Do we want to make a decision if we want to toast the bread or not toast, right? So this can get like really complicated with a lot of decisions. All right. Do you want the bread toasted? And then you can always make it bigger. And with these lines, if they're in the way, you can kind of move them. They'll still stay connected. So do you want, and then you want to make sure these are connected, which I will do a little bit later because I like to move these around. Do you want the bread toasted? There's going to be a yes and no. So break it down here. So yes, put bread in toaster. No. What are the next steps?
Put it in the plate.
Yes. Okay. Put bread on plate. All right. So from here, you do yes, put bread on toaster. Once it comes out, you want to put it on the plate after that. Next step would be, all right, I don't know how complex you guys do, but I usually do mustard, pickles, turkey, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, mayo on top. That's a lot of steps. So
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
No mayo.
You just
No mayo.
You just put a symbol.
Add ingredients to bread. And then eat sandwich. And then the end. So, I mean, if I had more time, I would probably break this down into 5 processes, just like take knife, smear the mustard on the bread, add 4 pickles. there's so many steps we skipped, like slicing the tomato, you know, breaking the lettuce up, adding the turkey, adding the cheese. This thing could be like 10 steps if you want it. You want to explain it like a 5 version. So anyone, like, even if they haven't made a sandwich before, don't assume like some of the stuff is obvious. Assume they've never made a sandwich. Maybe they like, I don't know, you know, none of these ingredients or no more of them. They could be from a different country where they make sandwiches differently. They have used completely different ingredients on their turkey sandwiches. You want to make it so anyone could go through this and be like, okay, and follow these step by step and then make a perfect sandwich.
Is there like a little breakout? Like if you had that, just add ingredients and you could click on it and it would say, these are all the ingredients kind of thing?
Yeah, good question. So you can add, I believe, a note. So ingredient list, turkey, mustard, pickles, lettuce, tomatoes, mayo, optional.
Bread.
Oh yeah, bread. And then once you click out, so if you want to see it, you just click that.
Yeah, that helps keep things kind of clean.
Yep, definitely. And as you're going through this, you're usually, oh, here, I missed the connector. So let me just make sure everything's connected with an arrow. Good. 1 arrow, this 2, that's fine. This follows this route. And oh, this is gonna bug me. It's not. Okay, you can stay. And another helpful thing is having these post-its, because normally when you're presenting this to your client and user, whoever, usually like I'll go through this to verify I understood the process correctly. So when you're showing it to the person who actually does this, they're going to have comments, or if you have questions, there's like a gap in knowledge, you can use these post-it notes and put them anywhere and ask your question or add in notes to adjust the process map if they have any edits for you. Yes, Erica, you see you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. So like you mentioned, we can get very granular with this. So when you're doing, so let's say we shift gears and now we're like at work. When you're having these conversations, do you make a process map based on like bird's eye view and then going down like more granular? Do you ever do like different, I don't want to say sub processes, but it's still the same process, but you're talking like, let's say you just want to get the big picture, then we'd have something like what we just did. And then if you want to go a level deeper, then you have a bit more detail. And then if you really want to get granular, maybe that's where, I don't know, I don't want to say swim lanes because we're not really going there for this, but I guess my point is like, do you ever get more granular with a specific process where if somebody just wants, like, just show me the big picture, you have a process for that. But if they want to kind of lift the hood, then you have another process that kind of like shows all of that?
I have not, although I have a good example, but I can't share it because it's a work one. One of the architects, they have something similar to this, slightly different, where you can click into it and it opens up to another one and shows more detail. I personally haven't created because I don't want to do the same work more than once, but it would depend on your audience. So if it's higher up leadership, yeah, you would just make a bird's eye view. If it's the end user, I would try to put as many details as possible, but I have not done multiple views of the same process.
We have, with my company, I know lots of our accounts have, if you see at the bottom of Anita's, is the page 1 tab, like you have in a spreadsheet. We have a ton of tabs down there for the different processes or different places that we're going to refer to, or different departments within a company that are working on different processes that might be similar, but might be specific to their department. So yeah, we'll have like a ton of those down there for for like kind of zooming in on certain things or stepping aside from the overall picture.
Nice. Good question. Oh,
Also,
and yeah, go ahead.
well, I just want to also say, like, my company has documents for us for templates and for graphics and for like rules to follow. So like there is sort of a standard that
Oh yeah.
that they'll give you. Like you don't have to fly blind. Like I don't think so. Like for me, I can look at the framework, I can look at the templates, and I can get an idea of where to start and what shapes to use and what the spacing should look like, and if we're doing colors and all that, you know. So a lot of times that's available to me already.
Yep, very true. One of my coworkers was on another project and she likes to color her swim lanes. You can color each swim lane so it's easier to read. And the client did not like the colors, so they made her change them all out, which is dumb. But yeah, some companies have their own color scheme they want to follow. I wanted to point this out. So these are all the different add-ons you can do, and there's actually Salesforce. Here you go. So Salesforce has its own shapes and bubbles and cards that you can use. Like you can just drag and drop wherever, and they have, you know, trailhead ones, all kinds. And then for the different items, so industries, field service, integration, and then industry breakdown, healthcare, all that. So you can make it really pretty. You can go down a very deep rabbit hole with customizing Lucid. So that's a cool thing I remember reading about on this site, the Salesforce Architects site. They have a lot of good guidance there as well. We should have made, I'm reading the chat, we should have made a chart for how to get the security specialist badge. Yeah, I can't even remember how I fixed that. I just kept clicking until something worked.
I tried to make a flow chart of it because I kept getting lost where I was on the badges and which badge. And I just gave up on the flow chart because I was like, I'll be here all day just making the flow chart. But I just wanted to see how all the badges fit together because I kept getting lost where I was and what parts were part of it.
I think that's the one that I did twice in order to get it right. And the second time, I don't know if that was the one, but I remember I created fields. You were supposed to do it within, I don't know how they would know. I was supposed to do something within the schema builder, and I didn't. I did it outside of that and it didn't work. And then I just started from scratch and it worked. So I don't know how they know the difference, but
oh, there's an option to add mock-ups as one of the templates. Are you talking about the wireframes? I don't even know what all the options are.
I checked out that delete too.
Oh,
if you want to look at it before.
Yes, just one more comment.
Go for it.
Anthony, also from Talent Stacker, Scriba, he does a really cool thing in Lucid Chart. He builds out his flows in it before he actually builds them. And he actually, I think he built out the process builders before he moved them over to flows in a Lucid Chart. So that's another good use case for this, but you really can do so much. All right, go ahead. Let me stop my share.
All right, so it was clever, actually. This was pretty clever. So what they said was you go into, so this is I don't know, I guess I use this for something. It's going to expire. I'm not going to need it anymore. They said go into into a record that you want to delete. There may be a faster way to do this. Maybe Alex had a faster way to do this, but from that link that you sent, Anita, this was the instructions. Like, let's say you want to delete all accounts so I'm in the account record, and just so that you know, like it started off on the related tab, but if you go to details for that account record and you go down to where it was created, this was created on April 16th, 2022 at 6:33 p.m. So what they said was you take that date that was created and then you go into your setup. So when you're in setup in quick find, you could do mass delete your records. So I'm deleting accounts. That's what I was looking at. And then in step 3 for the criteria, that's what you pick. You pick the create date equals that date. And then when you go to search for your records, none of those are any of the accounts that I created for my org. So those are all of the ones that were created when that was initially born, when the org was born, I guess. And then you delete. Then you can go back and do the same thing for contacts and leads and that sort of thing. So it's a step. There might be a simpler one, but that made sense and it would work.
That's actually exactly what I ended up doing. Now that you mention it, I remembered that's how I figured it out.
Oh, that's awesome. So are there any questions with Lucid Chart or creating your own dev org? Feel free to.
Yeah. So is it just the best practice just to do this to build a Lucid chart before you make a flow, or like do you use this to present to an employer during an interview if you want to show them something that you've built? As like, what's the key use of that, I guess, Lucid chart?
I mean, it depends. Those are great options. For me, I use it to make sure I understand someone's process, and it makes it easier to see where the gaps are. Because like when you're walking someone through, like asking when you're like in the real world, when you're walking them through, asking them like how they do certain things, there's so many workarounds. They're like, oh wait, no, instead this doesn't work, so I do this and this instead. But yeah, during an interview, especially if the job description says need to know Lucid chart, yeah, that's a strong move to just share your screen and show a personal Lucid chart. I wouldn't show like anything from a previous client. They tend to not like that. Yeah, but for flows, I mean, I used to just draw it out on paper. So it's just whatever's easier, because I don't know if flows are hard. I still can't even do them. For me, it's easier just to visualize stuff. So either paper or Lucid. Yes, Fong. It also helps with training, onboarding, and documentation.
Okay, so then like if someone's kind of going through the requirements with you, are you having like a Lucid chart open and like doing it right then and there? You're just taking notes and then making the chart afterwards, probably.
So we have a recording. All of our videos are recorded. So I don't know if others out there, or Anita, if you have that, but like for us, we have a system where every Zoom that we have with the client is recorded. So we can go back in, and that's what I've had to do to build some of these. Is I wasn't there for that interview or that meeting, so I would go into that recording and watch it, and I have a transcript right next to it too, and I would follow their process and map it out. And then like with the stickies that Anita showed, I might put little questions for where I think there might be gaps, or where do I need more details, or that sort of thing. So I've found so far in my experience, we're a completely remote company, and I don't really know yet. I don't understand yet how people do meetings without a second body available other than using that recording. Because when I'm in there assisting someone else, I'm taking notes and I'm writing things down, but I still can't catch everything. But a lot of our, to save the clients money, a lot of times we do have just one of our employees, just one of our consultants is in with the company. And so they have to refer back. So you don't usually have to do a lot live. You don't have to remember everything.
Yep. So one, yeah, definitely record the meetings, especially if you're new. It's so hard to multitask and do everything at the same time. The live thing, I've seen one person do it, and she's a pro. She's been doing it like 10 years. Super impressive if you get to that point where you can build it live, because you can visualize it and like right then and there ask, instead of when you record it, you build it, then you got to go back and forth like, oh, is this right? Is this right? When it's live and you have the person in front of you, you can adjust it on the go. But don't recommend that if you're new to Lucid. That's more of a higher level thing when you're really comfortable with the tool.
Cool, thanks.
Anita?
Yep.
Hi, would you suggest like doing what's called the happy path first. Like, for example, when you're going through mapping out a process, would you ask the person, like, in a perfect world, if your job was running smooth as butter, how would the steps go? And then at least you get that foundation. And then afterwards say, okay, but what really happens? And then that's where the workarounds come in. Like, would you always suggest the happy path?
Yeah, I'll do that now. That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Hi, Anita.
Yeah.
This is Steve. This is my first Talent Stacker call, and
welcome.
Thank you. That was a great presentation on Lucid. I'm not familiar with Lucid. I did an Experience Cloud demo back in January. So because my thinking is that I'm not working a Salesforce job now, and so I'm trying to basically demonstrate, broadcast what I can do, and that's why I chose Experience Cloud, because I could put it on a website and almost like a portfolio website. So could you do that with Lucid? Can you embed the charts into a web page?
I think so. At least the picture of it, to make it clickable. I'm not sure. Does anyone know? I haven't tried adding that to my portfolio. In fact, I haven't touched mine in a very long time. I have one on Experience Cloud. That is a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that, Steve.
Well, I can look into it. I just thought, the all of the content that we're learning, I just like to spend a day or two actually, show an example, kind of like you did with the turkey sandwich, just to kind of document what I've done. And I can go back and it's a story later on I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, at the minimum, you can just, download the picture and add it to your Experience site. Or if you want to like have a video explain it, just record yourself, YouTube video, and you can post that on it as well.
There is a share embed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can download it as a PDF afterwards, Raina. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
And I would suggest if you do any of these, we did a Lucid chart. It's not at all Lucid appropriate. It's just what we knew how to do for our volunteer project. So, and it's all over the place. And I have like a blurred out version of that on my LinkedIn too. But like that and my, that and the the dashboard that I made, those are both things that I put on my LinkedIn, and I lock them in as like the highlighted posts, or I don't remember what they're called.
Featured. Yep.
Yep. The featured ones. And chances are your employer is going to see you or find you or follow you in LinkedIn. And that's a great place to show off that even if you don't know what the hell you're doing, like they could see that that's what I was trying to learn, or that's what I'm trying to do, and that I'm immersed in it. And then other talent stackers I know are really interested in seeing examples of that too. It's a great way to pass on the knowledge that you're getting. So I would just suggest, don't worry about try not to be afraid of being vulnerable and putting that stuff out there, because even though it's probably not textbook, it's useful. It's useful for you and it's useful for somebody else.
Yeah, I can tell you from Lucid charts I've seen at work, some are really good and then some are really bad. It's fine. Not everyone knows all the rules. I don't know all the rules. Just knowing the basics is good enough.
Right.
It'll get you far.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Jaime. I need to get better at using that LinkedIn section, that first the highlight section. I have so many things that I could post there, but thank you for reminding me.
Game changer. It really is. LinkedIn is the game changer.
High visibility. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I got one.
Yeah.
Can you remind me how to do get on a group project, like a volunteer project with some of the Talent Stacker community? I know it's somewhere in one of the sections there, but
I think it's module 4, whichever module says volunteer on it. I think it's module 4. There is a link to a Google form. Once you fill that out, it'll add you to the waiting list.
Yeah, because I've done a volunteer project, but with a separate company. But I'd like to do one as a group with the Talent Stacker too. So I'll do that next.
But you have to, the only stipulation is you have to be certified to join it. so everyone has like the same base of knowledge. Otherwise it would be too crazy.
Yep.
Let me see. Erica asked the question, did you suggest to put our work in the features section of LinkedIn? Yeah. Dave, where will the copy of this video live? It'll be on the Talent Stacker platform. Not sure which section. I think there's a module of the that shows archived workshops that you can find it. And Alex is usually pretty quick with that. It'll probably be there by the end of the week. Oh, yes, Raina, module 5. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Not. Thank you guys so much. Jaime, thank you so much for volunteering to do this. I love the community. This was totally not a Talent Stacker idea.
No, and it's fun. Like it's just so great to have this community. And I feel like I haven't really been able to give back so much because once you got hired, like I'm just so swamped with trying to learn. And I'm exhausted right now. But this is fun. You know, it's fun to be able to be a part of it. I love this community. Thank you all for showing up.
Yeah, thank you guys for showing up and staying up around dinner time on a Tuesday night. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you all.
Bye. Have a good night.